Welcome back. As you can see, I have a little company today. I don't think he's going to stay here very long. I actually think his goal is to go get himself some treats. I just put some on his food. Well, yesterday we spoke about this great financial reset that people are talking about. And they're linking it to Bretton Woods, which was a major financial reset in 1944. So today I thought we would look at what's really going on, not what they say is going on, but what is the actual subtext and why I believe that there's another agenda here. All right, when we come back. So what does a Bretton Woods moment mean? Yesterday, we spoke about this, and we know that Bretton Woods was an economic summit held in New Hampshire in 1944. The war was not over yet, but we were moving in that direction. The participants were the Allied nations. It was held in the United States. And the outcome was to tie world economies among the Allied nations into the gold standard. It resulted in a number of currencies being devaluated. Well, actually, all the currencies were devaluated. Ours, at a 12% devaluation, was a drop in the bucket compared to what was going on in South America, where the devaluation was just draconian. 89 to 99%. We're talking about economies that were just crumbled up into a little ball and set on fire. Even our European allies were looking at 25 to 30% devaluation. Worked out well for the United States. We had all the gold. By the way, we still do have more gold than anybody else. Germany is a distant second. We've got almost 3 times as much gold as Germany. Interestingly enough, the number 3 position is held by the IMF. And out of this also came things like, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund. So when the IMF director, remember our Bulgarian Marxist economist, starts talking about a Bretton Woods moment, what could she possibly mean? Are we going back to the gold standard? Not likely. If we can't do it, and we have the lion's share of the gold, what does that mean for other nations? And we tried it. It lasted 30 years. And in the Nixon administration, we went off the gold standard. It would be unfair to blame Nixon for this. We were pretty much de facto off the gold standard before he made it a reality. In other words, he was just acknowledging what had already taken place. So, a Bretton Woods moment. Back to the gold standard, devaluation of currency? No. IMF, World Bank, they're already here. So what could they possibly mean by a Bretton Woods moment? Well, in order to understand that, we have to look at the actual Bretton Woods moment. world's at war. Countries are just, bombed to smithereens. And mind you, this is before we sent our little surprise packages over to Japan. Economies were devastated. The war debt was already beyond anybody's ability to pay. But I think the most important factor in the Bretton Woods moment is everybody's at war. People are scared. Despite the fact that there was certainly a great deal of national cohesion, because that usually happens when a country is at war. The population gets behind the leadership, supports the war effort. Still, it was a world in chaos. Bombs were dropping, people were dying, not in America. Over here, we were simply grabbing up our own population and sticking them on planes and ships and sending them over there so that they could die, as part of our support of the war effort. We were in fact still losing our soldiers at this point. So I think that is the Bretton Woods moment. A frightened population under threat. Because what they are talking about is not getting economies onto the gold standard. What they are talking about is shifting economies from our paper-based currency to a digital currency. Now, interestingly enough, they are not coming right out and saying, this is our Bretton Woods moment. We are going to exploit the fear and panic caused by a pandemic to shove something new and delightful down your throats. But if you listen to what they say after they're through with Bretton Woods moment, the Great Reset is not a reset. They are not attempting to bring us back to something earlier and more stable, i.e. the gold standard. And not that that was always the case. The British had pound sterling, meaning a silverback currency. Colonial Virginia had a tobacco-based currency. So it doesn't have to be gold necessarily. It has to be commodity-based. That needs to back up your currency. That doesn't seem to be appearing in any of their speeches or any of their writings about this Great Reset. So what is it? Bretton Woods apparently is only dealing with a fearful population in a time of war that for some reason these people feel is going to be an easily controlled populace. Well, they could be right. I hope they're wrong, but who knows? We'll have to see. So what's the real agenda? So maybe you'll remember a couple of months ago, I did a video saying, have you been seeing these signs all over the place saying there's a national coin shortage and they're blaming it all on COVID, as if everybody saw the pandemic and began hoarding pennies, which is, that's just a counterintuitive notion to begin with. Well, I did not think there was a coin shortage at the time. I thought there was something else afoot, another agenda, and the coin shortage was simply some part of that agenda, maybe even only a bit player in it. Well, when you follow the trail of what the IMF is saying, throwing out there. And, of course, you have to take what the other people who are in support of the IMF and who are being supported by the IMF are saying. It looks like what the real agenda is to move us over to a digital economy. Now, that has nothing to do with Bretton Woods. So obviously our Bretton Woods moment is a metaphor, not for a need to consolidate our currencies and get them on solid ground again, but in terms of their ability to cram something down our throats that under better circumstances, i.e. non-pandemic world, we might resist. So, where are we going with this whole digital economy thing? Oh, they are pushing the daylights out of this. If you listen to them, if you read their reports, they are downright gleeful at the prospect of moving away from paper currency. Little bits of paper, $100 bill. Take that $100 bill, who knows who spent it, where it's gone. But digital, oh, we can track that. And they're delighted by the prospect of being able to track every movement of our financial lives. So, what do we need to take away from this? One, there probably really is no coin shortage, which is something I suspected 2 months ago when I was seeing those signs crop up. Two, they are probably not only trying to get us away from cash, but they are probably trying to get us away from our debit cards as well, because that is a representation of cash. In other words, that debit card, those little bits of paper money, kind of the same. Going into a digital economy can mean all kinds of things. For one thing, it does mean every single transaction is monitored, recorded, stored, kept forever and ever and ever. A government is able to follow money, not just terrorist money. And governments will say, oh, it'll help us catch terrorists. No. That's not. Terrorists represent a fraction of a percent of the population. 99 God only knows what percentage of us are honest people doing honest things with our lawfully gained money. That's what the government's going to be tracking. And I would imagine if they happen to come across a terrorist, it'll be sheer good luck rather than anything meaningful in terms of plans or, law enforcement activity on their part, because quite frankly, criminals will always find a way to get around any random system. And remember, the people proposing the digital economy are not computer scientists. Although I suppose one might say Bill Gates, although frankly, I don't believe he is a computer scientist. If he has any academic qualifications in the field, I'm not aware of it. We're talking about economists proposing this. And again, the economists are proposing the digital economy, hearkening back to Bretton Woods, and then saying, well, this allows us to create a more inclusive, more diverse, more whatever, every single buzzword that the social agenda currently, climate change, Yes, they threw climate change in there too. Somehow they are going to manage climate change with this digital economy. So in other words, they are just preparing this like a piece of cake and spraying the whipped cream on top in order to get us to buy into this without any sense of how is a digital economy going to affect climate change? In what way is a digital economy going to be diverse and inclusive? They're just throwing out every possible buzzword, but that seems to be where they are going. Now, governments are going to jump all over this because if you can track every single transaction of your population, you can tax every single transaction of your population, and you will come up with huge volumes of other information, totally incidental to any lawful purpose that you will have about your you're going to know what your population likes for a midnight snack, for example. You are going to know what movies they watch. You are going to know everything about them from these transactions. So obviously the governments are going to be utterly gung-ho for this because their current mindset is more information is better. And then we have to deal with the fact that our privacy will be invaded to the point that the concept of privacy itself is going to be some weird abstract thing that we associate with our grandparents in the Victorian era. Now, there are always going to be people out there who are going to say, if you're not up to no good, what do you care if people know what you're up to? But that's not the point. I should not have to justify my desire to keep my personal business private. The people meddling in that, the people who are observing every little thing I do, should be required to support their need for that information. The burden should not be on me, it should be on them. So, where are we really going with this? Bretton Woods, back to a solid economic system where our current fiat currency is converted back to something that is backed by an actual good, the dollar, a commodity, tobacco even. I mean, hey, it can be anything. You can support it with little children's ABC blocks as long as it has some value. No, not at all. Where we're going with this is full digital. And for most of us, this is not a good thing. Without even dealing with the prospect of hackers, the idea that due process is out the window if the government wants to take your money. Bang, they've got it. They push a button. So, kiss due process goodbye. What are we looking at here? We are looking at Brave New World. We're looking at going into a future that, of course, we could go into almost immediately. Theoretically, technologically, we could. Let's hope legislatively we cannot. Going into a future where everything we do is monitored, 100% monitoring. We would be going into the kind of biometric identity cards they actually do have in some parts of the world where the entire population is under the kind of supervision that we in America associate with house arrest of criminals. It's a very frightening thought. And I am not throwing this out in order to scare you, because the fact is, I think you've been way scared enough by far too many people. What I want to do by throwing this out there is I want to make you observant. I want you to watch for the little signs. I want you to think about your finances and look at ways that you can do more to ensure the privacy of your financial life. These days, post-COVID, remember the lockdown and so on, we were all in that period of buying everything we could online. I still do a lot of online shopping, and I'm not going to stop. But what am I going to do? For one thing, if I can use cash, I'm going to. So I'm going to try to make as many of my local purchases cash-based. I really think that's probably smart in the long run, but I want to see if I can't do a little backtracking and pull myself out from under that kind of just invasive scrutiny. I'm also going to take a look at how much money I want to keep in cash in the banks, where it's just there for anybody who wants to look at it to look at it. And I want to give some consideration to other options for storing wealth. Remember, wealth doesn't have to be money. Do I want to look at buying gold or silver? It's probably not. I'm not really sure that's where I want to go, because there are a lot of fees associated in that, and I don't know if I want to play that game. Am I going to look at Bitcoin? I don't think so, because that's moving right into that digital economy realm. And although Bitcoin right now is totally private, in other words, it's not monitored or it's not supervised in any way, I have a feeling it's not going to stay that way for very long. So don't think I'm going to go look at that, but I am going to start doing some research to see what my options are. I might just decide I'm going to pull all my money out of bank accounts and leave it in the bank, but leave it in the bank in a safe deposit box instead. After all, interest rates are getting lower, and frankly, I just don't see that I'm gaining that much from leaving my money in a bank account. Maybe just pull it all out in cash, throw it in a safe deposit box, pull it out when I need it, throw it in when I need it. Bank accounts are very digital and very user-friendly these days, but I grew up in an era where you took physical cash money down to a bank and deposited it, where you took a check from your employer down to the bank and cashed it and got that actual cash money and did things with it. So it's not like I don't have the skills to do that. I think that's what I'm going to do. And then I am going to make a serious, concerted effort to look at what my options are in terms of maintaining my financial privacy going forward. Now, if I come up with some good strategies, I will absolutely share them with you. But for the moment, I'm as new to this as anyone. But I did want to share this with you, that I don't think they're talking about Bretton Woods in any literal sense, or even close to literal sense, in terms of retying our money into the gold standard and then devaluating it accordingly, which is what Bretton Woods moment ought to be saying. I think Bretton Woods to them means something very different. I think it means a climate of fear and uncertainty. And if we want to stop them, frankly, the best thing we can do is not give in to fear, not make panicky decisions, not just go along with whatever gets dumped on us and say, oh yeah, that's a good idea, sure, sure. Now, I know a lot of you are concerned about cash, that the COVID virus can live on all kinds of stuff. I read recently that it can live on metal and plastic for something like up to a week. But fabric, it lives 2 days. Still, it's pretty scary no matter how you slice it. If you don't like the idea of handling potentially louse-infested money, then by all means, you can wash your coins, you can wash your bills, you can spray everything with little Clorox sprays, and be careful not to bleach out the money too much. Because I think that's a federal crime to bleach money, so please don't soak your money in Clorox, please. But you can disinfect your money. You can wear gloves when you go out to the store. We're coming on to winter. Most of us are going to be wearing gloves soon enough anyway. But just remember that you have options. You do not have to live your life in a digital world, certainly not financially. There are other things you can do. But keep your eyes open. Watch for anything that starts to look to you as if your financial privacy is being violated. And I think I told you, if I didn't, I'll tell you now. I go shopping at Walmart frequently. Well, I also shop Walmart online. I get my cat litter from them because I don't want to have to cart home a 40-pound box of cat litter, and my Audie likes a nice full cat box, and he's entitled to it. They deliver it to my door, 40 pounds of litter. Now, when I go into my Walmart.com account online, not only do I see all of my Walmart.com orders, but I see everything I bought the last time I was at the store. You know why? Because I am using the same debit card on both accounts. So, fortunately for me, my bank is right in Walmart's lobby. Next time I go to Walmart, I am going to take my little debit card, go right over to my bank machine, pull out the money cash, and pay cash at the register. And let's just hope that purchase doesn't show up in my Walmart.com account. All right. Have a really good day. Again, remember, don't let them scare you. Don't. All right. I will see you. Wednesday will be Wordy Wednesdays. Thursday is book club in the evening. Friday, we are going right back to thrifting again. And you all have a great couple of days.